right, thank you, Sawyer. I'd like to call the meeting of the Senate Committee on Finance to order. Committee Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Senator Dennis.
Here.
Senator Kekeffer.
Here.
Senator Goycochea.
Here.
Senator Hammond.
Here.
Senator Ratty.
Here.
Senator Sievers-Gansert.
Here.
Senator Canizaro.
Here.
Senator Dondero Loop.
Here.
Chair Brooks.
Here. All right, well, thank you. I'd like to just remind all the committee members, please keep your camera on and your microphone muted unless you're going to talk. And it's a small enough group today that I can see everybody on the screen, and just wave your hand if you have any questions. I would also like to remind the general public who will be calling in today, if they want to call in today for public comment, that agenda item will be at the end of the meeting. And on the agenda as posted is the information on how to call in and register, or you can go to the Nevada Legislature's website under the NELIS portion, N-E-L-I-S portion, and there is a banner on top that lets you click in and register and participate. We have two items on work session today. There's two bills. We have Senate Bill 47 and Senate Bill 68. And we will start with Senate Bill 47 from the Treasurer's Office. It revises provisions governing public borrowing. Mr. Hartz, will you please walk us through that bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and members of the committee. I'd be happy to. For the record, Alex Hartz, Fiscal Analysis Division. Senate Bill 47, as you will recall, was heard on March 15th. As noted, it revises provisions governing public borrowing. Specifically, SB 47, as introduced, eliminates the June 30, 2021 sunset provision of Senate Bill 4 of the 31st special session this prior July. This has the effect of authorizing the Office of the State Treasurer to issue general obligation interim debt instruments up to in aggregate maximum amount of $150 million at any one time. Senate Bill 47 is introduced, also revises the process by which the state treasurer determines the need to issue such debt to that of the state treasurer determining that the cash balance in the state general fund is insufficient to meet expected future obligations. Senate Bill 47 is introduced, also revises the process by which the state treasurer is required to follow to obtain approval to issue such debt instruments prior to issuing them, to include the review, consideration, and approval by the legislature's interim finance committee. It also includes a provision that in the event that the interim finance committee does not consider the state treasurer's request within 15 days, the approval is considered, the issuance is considered to be deemed approved. The bill was introduced and presented by the state treasurer. The state treasurer explained this bill does in fact eliminate the June 30, 2021 sunset, which is contained in sections 8 and 9 of Senate Bill 4. The state treasurer indicated that the purpose of SB 47 was to provide additional flexibility and may eliminate the need for a future special session. In response to committee members' questions, the state treasurer indicated that the provision of SB 4 had not been used, and to the treasurer's knowledge that previously approved lines of credit, such as AB2 of the 25th special session in 2008, had also not been utilized. There was no testimony provided in support of the bill. There was no testimony provided in opposition to the bill, and there was no testimony provided in neutral either. There were no amendments to the bill. There were no fiscal notes submitted on the bill. Senate Bill 47 becomes effective upon passage and approval. If the committee wishes to approve SB 47 this morning, the committee's motion would be to approve as due pass. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hartz. Do any committee members have any comments or questions on Senate Bill 47? Senator Kiefer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I had raised this issue during the hearing on the bill, and I guess I was hoping that I could sit on the sidelines and have someone else present an amendment on the subject. That didn't happen. So I'll raise again the same issue that I think the process by which the IFC would approve the no obligation debt of the state is a little too loose, and I don't like the idea that it would just happen by default if the IFC didn't affirmatively take action within 15 days. I think that's an awful lot of power to give to the chairman of the Interim Finance Committee, even if it is you, Mr. Chairman. And to that end, I think that I'd like to consider changing the bill to require an affirmative vote of the IFC to approve this. Now, I know that I don't have anything in writing to do that. I should probably work with our legal staff to put that together. So I'd be happy to do that as a floor amendment and move the bill out today. And then we can work collaboratively to try to put something together on the floor. I don't think I'm surprising the treasurer with this idea. I've mentioned it a couple of times, so hopefully no one's being caught off guard. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Kiefer. I'd be very interested to, if we do pass this out today, to work with you and the treasurer on what that looks like. If you're open. Any further questions or comments on Senate Bill 47? Senator Sievers-Gansert.
Thank you, Chair Brooks. So I'm in agreement with Senator Kiefer, and I appreciate the ability to have it worked out. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any other comments or questions on Senate Bill 47? Okay, well, Senator Gokachia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I also have to beg off what Mr. Kiefer brought it to my attention. I had to admit that I'd missed that in committee, and I completely agree with him.
Thank you, Senator. So it sounds as if there is some consensus around potentially or working together to get to a place where there could be a floor amendment on this if we do pass this out today. And I think that we could all talk to the treasurer and see what that might look like. With that understanding, I would be looking for a motion to do pass.
Moved.
Second.
And so I believe I had a motion from Senator Kiefer and a second from Senator.
Yep.
All right, perfect. I appreciate that. And could you please take a roll or the vote, Secretary?
Senator Dennis.
Excuse me. Any further discussions on that motion?
Yeah, actually, since you just called on me, the Senator Dennis, I would be interested in looking at that amendment also as we move forward. It's an interesting concept. So that was my last comment. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Any further questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, could you please take the vote?
Senator Dennis.
Yes.
Senator Kiefer.
Yes.
Senator Goycochea. Senator Hammond.
Yes.
Senator Ratty.
Yes.
Senator Sievers-Gansert.
Yes.
Senator Canizaro,
Yes.
Senator Dondero Loop,
Yes.
Chair Brooks,
Yes.
and I do not believe we heard Senator Goycochea in case his mic was on mute.
Sorry, I voted yes. Did you get me that time?
Yes, I have you now. Thank you, Senator.
All right, well, thank you. So that motion passes, and that brings us to the second agenda item, which is Senate Bill 68. And Senate Bill 68, Mr. Thorley, could you walk the committee through that bill, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before moving on to Senate Bill 68, would you like to assign a floor statement for Senate Bill 47?
Oh, thank you very much. I would like to assign that to Senator Kiefer, please.
Good morning, members of the committee. Wayne Thorley, for the record, Senate Fiscal Analyst. Senate Bill 68 was heard in this committee on March 15th, sponsored by the Committee on Government Affairs on behalf of the State Treasurer. Senate Bill 68 revises various provisions governing the investment of certain money held by the state. The bill eliminates the prohibition against investment of the state's general portfolio in a reverse repurchase agreement. The measure also increases from $50 million to $75 million, the maximum amount of money the state treasurer is authorized to transfer from the permanent school fund to a corporation for public benefit to provide private equity funding to businesses engaged in certain industries that are located or seeking to locate in Nevada. Finally, Senate Bill 68 increases from $40 million to $60 million, the maximum allowable amount of the state permanent school fund the state treasurer is authorized to use to guarantee outstanding bonds issued by a school district. The bill was introduced in committee by the state treasurer who presented the bill. The state treasurer explained that Senate Bill 68 seeks to expand the state's current investment vehicles and strengthen Nevada's current investment statutes by increasing the impact of the Nevada Capital Investment Corporation, or NCIC, on public school funding. Treasurer Conine shared that to date, NCIC investment has generated $32.3 million for the permanent school fund and $12.8 million in interest payments for the distributive school account, or DSA. The state treasurer testified that the increase in the maximum allowable amount of the permanent school fund that his office is authorized to use to guarantee bonds issued by a school district for school construction will allow the state's smaller, more rural school districts to engage in more school construction in areas of need. Finally, Treasurer Conine testified that the authorization of reverse repurchase agreements will give his office a cash management tool to avoid liquidating a security prior to its maturity date in order to meet unexpected or immediate cash flow needs. There is no testimony in support of the bill. There is no testimony against the bill, and there is no testimony in neutral on the bill. There is one amendment proposed by the state treasurer to clarify the terms under which a reverse repurchase agreement can be entered. Conceptual language for the amendment has been provided to all the committee members and is also available online on Nellis. The amendment, one, requires proceeds to be received regarding reverse repurchase agreements, requires proceeds to be received at the time securities are transferred. Two, requires funds to be matched to the anticipated cash flows. And three, sets the length of a repurchase agreement, of a reverse repurchase agreement to not more than 90 days. Tara Hagan, Chief Deputy Treasurer with the Office of the State Treasurer, is available to provide testimony on the proposed amendment, Mr. Chair, if needed. There are no fiscal notes on the bill. Senate Bill 68 would become effective upon passage and approval. And finally, if the committee does wish to approve the bill with the proposed amendment, the motion would be to amend and do pass as amended. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Thorley. Appreciate that. Do any of the committee members have a question on Senate Bill 68 or the amendment? Senator Severs-Ganser.
Thank you, Chair Rook. So I'm looking at 4B, where it talks about the total principal and interest due in any year on the bonds. Proposed to be guaranteed does not exceed the total principal and interest due in that year on the bonds being refunded. Could that become like an auto, so if it's always less expensive, you could just continue issuing bonds without going through a process, is the way that I'm reading this. I just want to make sure that that's accurate, or if I'm misunderstanding, because I'm a little bit concerned about not having, being able to issue bonds as long as they're less expensive on a continual basis without a process. So again, I'm looking at section 4 to B.
Could the Treasurer Kona or Ms. Hagan, could you answer that question for Senator Severs-Ganser?
Yes, good morning, Chair, members of the committee. Tara Hagan with the State Treasurer's Office. That section actually only allows if there's the bonds have been issued and then there's going to be a refunding, that would allow that refunding to occur. So it wouldn't be any new issuances, just allowing the refunding.
Okay, thank you.
Let me unmute. Do any of the other committee members have any questions on further questions on Senate Bill 68 or the amendment? Senator Dennis.
Thank you. I just want to see if we can, I think this came out in the hearing, but does this increase or decrease the risk on the permanent school fund?
This is Treasurer Conine for the record. Chair, I can give that a shot if you'd like.
Please do, Treasurer.
Thank you for the question, Senator. What it does is it diversifies the risk on the permanent school fund, right? The underlying holdings of the NCIC or Nevada Capital Investment Corporation aren't by definition more or less risky than any other risk-adjusted opportunity we might be looking for in the portfolio. So this is simply additional diversification. Most people would say that additional diversification reduces risk, but of course risk is inherent to the underlying asset. So we try not to make broad statements like that over in the Treasury. We think it gives us the tools necessary in order to make sure that the returns of the permanent school fund can remain high while not increasing the risk in any sort of broad sense.
But this also increases the amount that could be bonded against, right?
Yes, sir. So Treasurer Conan, for the record, as it relates to the guarantee, no, we don't think that increases the risk to the permanent school fund one little bit.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just want to make sure we got that on the record. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chair, I have one other question.
Could I get Senator Dondero-Loop first, and then I'll come back to you, Senator Severs-Ganser. Senator Dondero-Loop.
Thank you, Chair. And Treasurer Conine, could you just reaffirm for me? Do I remember that in committee that the core can't be spent, that this is a little bit like an endowment fund, or maybe I'm using the wrong word, but would you please reaffirm those statements, please?
Treasurer Conine, for the record, and I'll thank again Senator Ratty for using one word, endowment, where I was using about 400 words to say permanent fund. But yes, the permanent school fund functions as an endowment. The principal, the corpus doesn't get spent, and then interest earnings that are made on that go into the DSA.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. And Senator Severs-Ganser.
Thank you, Chair Brooks. So back to the refunding issue. When you refund the bonds, does the term stay the same, or do you end up extending the term of the bonds when you replace the ones that are more expensive?
Treasurer Conine, for the record, in every bond issuance that I'm aware of, the refunding keeps the original terms. Really, think about it like a refinance, but we're not extending the term.
That's what I needed to know. Thank you.
Senator Kiefer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Treasurer, could you walk through or just state the intent of the proposed amendment?
Treasurer Conine for the record, and thank you, Senator Kekeffer, both for the idea for the amendment and then working with us in order to get it sorted. So the purpose of the amendment at its core is to make sure that reverse repurchase agreements are being used for temporary cash flow needs as opposed to for creating additional returns in the portfolio. In other words, we're not trying to create leverage. What we're trying to create is additional tools to avoid problems. The requirement, and this is all in section 1(2)(c), if I got that right, but the green text. At or before the time or securities are delivered with all appropriate executed written agreements, proceeds must be received in accordance with the agreement. So again, we get the money before we deliver the securities. 2, the funds have to be matched to anticipated cash flow needs. So again, the goal here is that we're only borrowing in that short term what we would need. We're only entering into these reverse repurchase agreements for that time frame. And then the length of the agreement must not be more than 90 days in duration. Just so everybody knows, that matches the language on repurchase, normal repurchase agreements, but our internal investment policy limits those to 12 days, which again really makes these short-term vehicles, which is the goal here, and hopefully meets your objectives with that amendment.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Senator Dennis.
Just to follow up to your answer to Don Darrell Loop, you mentioned that the interest gets put to the DSA. Is that what you were saying?
Treasurer Conine, for the record, I'll certainly turn over to Chief Deputy Hagan in case there are any other circumstances, but that's the general play.
Well, my question was going to be, does that include the new fund for the new funding formula?
Treasurer Conine, for the record, I actually don't know that, but I believe so.
Okay, we've made concern since we have a new funding formula that's been put in place and the DSA will go away. I want to make sure that's
right.
We're not missing that piece in here.
Senator Dennis, this is Wayne Thorley, Senate Fiscal Analyst. I can confirm that under the provisions of Senate Bill 543 from the 2019 legislative session regarding the Pupil Center funding plan, that the interest earned in the permanent school fund will indeed go to the state education fund or education funding account.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator. So I think we've taken several more bites at the apple here. So does anyone else have any questions on Senate Bill 68 or the amendment that we're proposing today? Well, it does not look as if we do, so I would like to see an amend do pass motion.
I'd make a motion to amend and do pass.
Motion from Senator Dennis.
I'll second.
Second from Senator Don Darrell Loop. Any discussions from the committee or questions on the motion? I do not see any questions or comments or discussion on the motion. And we have a first and a second. Committee Secretary, will you take a vote?
Senator Dennis,
Yes.
Senator Kekeffer,
Yes.
Senator Goycochea,
Yes.
Senator Hammond,
Yes.
Senator Ratty,
Yes.
Senator Severs Gansert,
Yes.
Senator Canizaro,
Yes.
Senator Don Darrell Loop,
Yes.
Chair Brooks.
Yes. And motion passes. Amendment passed. I would like to assign that floor statement to Senator Dennis, please.
unmute, sir.
Thank you. Just had my computer redone this weekend, and I'm still trying to figure some of the stuff out. So thank you for your patience. That's our last agenda item for work session today, which brings us to our final item, which is public comment. Broadcast services, could you make sure that the public comment line is open? And let's wait a few minutes to see if we have any public that signs on. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Brooks. The public line is currently open and working. There are no callers at this time. BPS standing by. Thank you so much, Chair Brooks. The public line is open and working, and there are no callers at this time.
Well, thank you. So with no public comment this morning, we can finish our meeting and adjourn the meeting for the day. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day.